Hej och välkomna till Beyond Tomorrow. I dagens avsnitt får vi höra ett samtal som spelades in live på industrimässorna Öresund under maj 2025. Du kan lyssna på fler avsnitt från eventet på poddkanalen Beyond Tomorrow, Framtidens industri.
Hi and welcome to the podcast Beyond Tomorrow, recorded live at Industrimässorna Öresund 2025. My name is Lydia Söderlund and I work as a senior consultant with digitalisation at Plantvision. Today I'm joined by Alfred Larsson from Agile Robots to talk about what embodied AI really means and what kind of impact it could have on the world of automation. Welcome, Alfred.
Thank you, Lydia, and I'm very excited to be part of this podcast.
Could you tell us a bit more about your background and your role at Agile Robots?
Yes, definitely. So I'm originally from Malmö, Sweden, so I'm very excited to be here today in my hometown and recording this and participating. But I've spent the last 12 years abroad. 7 of those I spent in the US, where I did my studies and also worked initially at Amazon Robotics within their robotics and automation division. And then I've also worked at various robotics startups focusing on AMRs and AGVs, etc. And then the last 5 years I've spent in Germany also working within the general robotics and automation industry. And at Agile Robots, I am part and leading the sales and business development team. So we're focusing on the European market and trying to grow the Agile Robots footprint with our customers and successful implementations and installations.
Okay. And I think most people know what AI are right now, but could you tell us a bit more about what embodied AI means?
Yes. So embodied AI refers to artificial intelligence that's not just thinking or processing information, it's actually doing physical things. So if you think from a large language model, we're moving bits, ones and zeros. But with embodied AI, we're moving atoms. We are taking a big step forward from the traditional artificial intelligence that exists only in computers. But if you combine perception, decision-making, and action, then embodied AI helps machine becomes better and even smarter.
Okay, so how does that differ from the existing robots?
Exactly, great question. So from a traditional automation or mechatronic system, embodied AI is 3 main things that we're adding to be able to execute on these topics. So the first one is a robotic brain with the intelligence and autonomous decision making. So think about the flexibility in understanding your environment and what's happening around you. The second thing is the fast responding robotic nerves. So think about if you feel your fingers and the touch you have in your hands and really understanding the environment around you, what's happening. And the third thing is the robotic limbs. So think about your shoulders, your elbows, and all the joints. And there you can really, really get to understand the environment around you. Think about if you're trying to push something with your arms, you're really understanding the forces, what's happening around you by feeling what's going on in your shoulders and in your elbows. So without these 3 components, with a robotic brain, robotic nerves, and robotic limbs, traditional robots is nothing but the mechatronic systems. You have digital inputs and you have digital outputs, and you're repeating the same process or automation 1 million or 10 million times. But when you think about this new embodied AI, we need to have this flexibility and sensitivity to really be able to be adaptive in the new world of automation and manufacturing.
Okay, so there's a lot of other skills that embodied AI or robot needs.
Yes, to be able to be flexible and dynamic and adaptable in the environment, you cannot just have, the inputs and digital inputs and outputs, but you have this, computer vision, force sensitivity, and the dynamic decision making to be able to be and work in adaptable and dynamic situations and environments.
So how do you teach a robot those things? What does the process look like?
So that's a great question, because a lot of people, if you think about a large language model, which a lot of people are familiar with today, because I think a lot of people have used ChatGPT, then, and I'm simplifying it now, is you can download all the text from the internet, and there you can really then train a model and build a large language model. But from a robotic side, if you try to build an embodied artificial intelligence, we talk about VLA, vision, language, and action models. Like, you need to have physical elements and train on physical things and robots. And one of the most common ways today is using teleoperation.
Okay.
So then you are, as a human, in the loop, connected to the robot and instructing the robot what to do to train it on specific tasks. And then when you have trained the robot with a set amount of episodes, where an episode is one specific sequence of an activity, then you save and clean this data, because there might be some successful, some non-successful activities. And then you take away the non-successful activities, and then you train this model to be able to run these tasks autonomously without the help of a human. So this is the, highest quality type of data, but also on the lowest scalability, because you need one human to be able to do one teleoperation. So then we have to look at what are other ways to also be able to collect this type of data to train these models and enhance and make them even faster and better. So then there's other ways, which is, one is called human data collection. Think about you putting on a bodysuit, like you maybe have seen for video game making or others, where they put on a bodysuit to be able to detect the movements of a human. We do the same to be able to understand then how you are able to see and detect the movements of a human. Another one is simulation and synthetic data. And when I talk about synthetic data, that's things that are built from a computer or digital twins. And these are more scalable because you can just copy paste a robot model and train it on specific activities. But it's also in some ways a little bit lower quality than teleoperations, where you're really instructing the robot what to do. And another topic that you can also do that's being discussed is using like the internet, text, images, or videos. So think about if you could go on YouTube and download all of the videos that existed on YouTube of all the humans ever running around, jumping, doing, the DIY, home improvement activities, and then download that and somehow train then a model to be able to do all of these activities. So there are a wide range of ways to collect the data, but at the moment there's no, secret sauce to exactly how it needs to be done. And that's why you see a lot of different companies having different approaches to really see what will be the best. But that's why as I said, there's no one final solution, and it is a very exciting time to be in this type of industry today.
Yeah, and it's really nice to hear that we are also doing this in Europe, because we know about Tesla has Optimus, it's called, right?
Yes, exactly, Optimus.
Yeah. So it's nice to hear that we're doing it in Europe as well. But how does it differ if we talk about industrial humanoid robots and at-home humanoid robots?
If you look at videos today and you see a lot of, people seeing a robot making a backflip, or they are doing some type of maybe cooking or household chores, I think it's very easy to generalize a demo video and then think that, okay, now this robot's going to come into my house and start doing all types of crazy activities. A lot of people focus sometimes a lot on form over function. And I think we really have to focus on what are the right shape or form to solve specific applications. And what we do at Agile Robot is not like we're just saying that a humanoid is going to be the next great thing, but focusing on industry ready solutions that can come in today and provide a real world value from day one. And it doesn't have to be a humanoid shape. It could be a mobile robot with a platform with one arm. It could be 2 arms, and it doesn't have to be always a 5-finger hand. It could be a 2-finger gripper. It could be a vacuum suction end effector as well. So it doesn't always have to be a human shape, but looking at what are the application and how can we build these flexible, dynamic solutions to really then solve our customers' problem. So we're working maybe backwards and looking at, what are the problems that we're trying to solve, and then move successfully backwards and then design a solution for it. It could be, 2 arms, it can be 1. So I think there will, of course, be a path to go into our homes eventually. But I really see that we have to start in the industry first, because there we have controlled environments. We are able to set, clear KPIs of what success is and what success isn't, and really start working in intralogistics, manufacturing, and those areas, and there really make this, dynamic, because they are dynamic environments, but not as crazy as my apartment or your apartment, because and there really find a solution to solve it first in industry, and then successfully go from industry into, for example, maybe a service sector where you have some, controlled but also uncontrolled environment. We're talking hospitals, we're talking retail, we're talking restaurants, where there's some uncertainty but still some controlled, and then maybe in the end we will end up with consumer applications. But I think the real focus now is on the industrial automation and making sure that we can find good ways to automate the industry.
That sounds like a good place to start. So how do you feel that the industry is reacting to these new technologies?
I think there's definitely a growing interest, and I think it's always been, Europe. I've always seen Europe as a key region for innovation and continuous improvement, and I think European industries are often early adapters of this advanced automation, and we're seeing a very strong demand for both our robots and our solutions, and the demand for solutions that can handle things a lot more flexible and more dynamically. So we have, great discussion with a lot of big industrial players on how we can support them on their automation journey, especially in the next 5, 10, 15 years moving forward as well. So it's a great time to be in Europe and be a tech company in this region, and really seeing the hype that's going on and supporting these type of activities and European tech society.
Yeah, so what kind of applications are we starting with? Can you give an example?
Yes, that's also a great question. So as we are focusing on solutions that are able to solve the real problems for our customers. So we don't have to be a humanoid running around doing an activity, but focusing on industrial ready applications. So focusing on intralogistics and manufacturing. So autonomous mobile robots, AMRs, autonomous guided vehicles that are transporting and driving, but also dynamically in an environment around. They have sensors to be able to navigate around obstacles inside the factory, but also using collaborative robot arms. So with force sensitivity, with computer vision, to really be able to detect and do this manufacturing and assembly job, machine tending in an unstructured environment. So you have AMR with a cobot arm on top of it, with a camera, and then also a gripper. And many times is when you're driving around with a mobile manipulator, as we call them, it's very hard to have exact navigation, because if you're using LiDAR navigation, which is using infrared light to detect where it should be localized, usually it's a tolerance of plus minus 2 centimeters. And if you're stopping in front of a CNC machine that's doing some type of activity, and you need to have this sub-millimeter precision, you really need to have this intelligent decision making and advanced cameras integrated to be able to then do the placement. And we are able to do all of these solutions and have done them successfully at very many locations in Europe and globally as well. That
sounds really cool. So it sounds like it's mostly like specific applications to start with. But do you think there will also be like general purpose robots?
Yes, I believe there will be general purpose robots, and I mean, we see demos every day, I think, if you're following various social channels. And in the end, we will end up, or we want to end up in the general purpose robot. Because, you want to have, if you have a plant and we're saying you want to in the future replace a human worker, you might need that robot or system to be at one specific location and do one specific task for half the day. But then you want to bring it over to another station and do another task for the second half of the day. It's nothing else than working in the small, medium enterprises today, where, you have different people running around all day doing all kinds of various tasks. So if we want to build these flexible robotic solutions, they need to be adaptable, because that will help, not only large customers, but also the small and medium enterprises in our world.
You mentioned replacing the humans. What kind of role do you think the humans will have when we start to replace more and more operators with robots?
We have a general, in Europe, there we have an aging population. So many times when you talk to different customers, or there's an aging population, and it might also sometimes be hard to find workers to do the specific work. But I also see it as, if you're introducing robotics, you're not going to completely remove the human. I see it more as a way of upskilling the operators. So instead of doing a specific task as a machine tending employee, you might then be uptrained and become a robot operator. So I see it as a way as, we will introduce more and more automation. However, all of the employees that are still interested in staying in the factories will find ways and be supporting their organization still, mainly around maybe this robotic system. Because I've seen many successful implementations where the people were very excited to have robotics to come in, because they took a lot of ownership and wanted to be part of this, and they ended up being like the robotic experts, and then automatically created a new role for themselves.
So until we have robots that could also be robotic engineers, we will still have the jobs.
I believe that we will still have our jobs. For the rest of humanity, we will have jobs to do. But I think it's more about the jobs that we will have in the next 10, 20, 30 years will look very different than what the jobs we have today. But we can just look back 50 years ago. I don't think the computer scientist or a programmer was maybe a job that many people had. But today we have tens of thousands of computer programmers, and there are going to be new industries and new jobs created in the next 50 years. It's just a matter of maybe we don't even know yet what they're called. So we have to just think about that. There will be jobs, but they will exist, and we will be integrated together with the automation.
Yeah, it's really exciting times, and it seems like we're only in the beginning of this journey.
We're only in the beginning of the journey, and in general, if you think back from robotics, the first industrial robot that was actually installed from a robotics side was in the 60s. So we have already been, 60 years automating the industry, but it's just in the last few years where we have come into this embodied artificial intelligence with adding force sensitivity, computer vision, and the robotic brain with the autonomous decision making. So yes, we have had robotics for 50 plus years, but I think the next 50 years will be even more exciting to see what's going to be introduced into our world and daily lives.
Yeah, the humanoid robots will not only be in sci-fi movies.
The human robots will not only be in sci-fi movies anymore, but they will end up in our society at some point.
So it's been really nice talking to you, Alfred. Do you have anything else you want to tell our listeners?
No, I said it's been great to be part of this podcast and share some of my thoughts about the industry in general. And it's very exciting times to be part of. And we at Agile Robots are really excited to be part of this European push and global push into automation and embodied AI. and bridging the gap between artificial intelligence and robotics.
Thanks so much for joining us, Alfred.
Thank you very much.
And a big thank you to all of you who have listened. I hope today's episode gave you some fresh ideas and inspiration for your own digital transformation.